Q looked up suddenly. What happened? You have been with Viola for so many years. Don't tell me you two are joking. What's the use of companionship? It can't beat the first love's beckoning. I don't want to show too much emotion in front of Q. We are all partners. Too much emotion will affect the development of the company. I said, isn't it good to save you a sum of money? Q was a little overwhelmed. He is not good at comforting people. I know him for more than 4 years. I still know this. His classic saying is that love brain affects the speed of making money. If he comforts a man who is hooked by love, he may directly say love brain. Isn't that what she deserves? Looking at his somewhat helpless face, I said again, don't be here to affect my work. If you have time for that gossip, help the company talk to your father and see if we can cooperate on the next project. After Q left, I had a meal with my parents. By the way, tell them to cancel the wedding and let them notify the relatives who received the invitation one by one. The two were filled with righteous indignation. My father rolled up his sleeves and wished he could fly over and kill Viola right now. My mother was so angry that she cried. Fortunately, my parents really loved me. Even though they knew that canceling the wedding might become a joke among relatives, they still insisted that the marriage must be divorced. One day after Viola came back to Suzhou, I slapped the divorce agreement directly in front of her. But Viola still firmly stated that she didn't want to divorce and even tried to persuade me to continue the wedding. She said, Quillen, the day after tomorrow is the wedding day. If we cancel the wedding now, it will be a loss of face for both families. My parents are old. I interrupted her. Viola, faith is a good thing. Don't treat it as a butt. I have packed all your things and mailed them back to your original villa. I hope you will never come into this house again in the future. I don't know what Viola said to her parents. That night, her mother called me and tried to persuade me. Seeing my firm attitude, she said, Quillen, although Viola was wrong in this matter, you are too willful to cancel the wedding at this juncture. She said that you are now divorced from Viola. Can you find someone better than Viola? Everything you have now, including the house you live in now, is given to you by Viola, isn't it? I didn't want to say anything about her, but if she is unhappy, she can't blame me for being me. I said, everything I have now is all earned by my own efforts. The current achievements of the head office are the result of my joint efforts with Viola. The branch office was almost built by me, so you don't need to throw it at me. I didn't give her a chance to interrupt and continued. If you think cheating can be forgiven and divorce after cheating is willful, then I wish you the opportunity to live with your husband's mistress and her descendants for 4 generations in the future. She was so angry about my last sentence that she started to curse, but I didn't hear her finish. I heard her curse. I didn't agree with your marriage at the beginning, and now you dare to make trouble for my family. Then she hung up the phone and put her on the blacklist. I also knew why she didn't want me to marry Viola at the beginning. I couldn't give in to her in everything. I also encouraged her to put her useless relatives in the branch to manage the branch when it was just established. Viola couldn't refuse herself, so she pushed me out and made me refuse it outright. So when I was talking about marriage with Viola, she came to me alone and threatened me, saying that the children would have to take their surname in the future. She was arrogant and said that if it wasn't for me, she wouldn't get married. All sons-in-law who were bullied by their mothers-in-law after marriage have a common problem. That is, they lowered their status from the very beginning. Obviously, others have stepped on your head, but you still try to treat her as your own mother. So, in order to nip her idea of controlling me in the bud, I directly replied to her, read more books and don't get involved in other people's affairs. Before she even stepped into the circle of wealthy women, she had already lost face. She told me to leave the company after getting married and be a full-time house husband at home, saying who knows me. Will she have a messy relationship with someone after drinking because of the embarrassing situation at work and cheat on her daughter? I laughed. Is her brain completely underdeveloped and her cerebellum incomplete? She dared to say anything. She complained to Viola, saying that I scolded her, and I asked Viola in return, am I crazy for scolding my mother-in-law before getting married? After hearing my question, Viola probably knew what was going on. So after we got the marriage certificate, We lived in my big flat and didn't live with her mother. It's not that Viola favors me. She simply doesn't want to deal with the conflict between me and her mother. Or she knows it very well. 10 mothers are not enough for her. And my mother can't control me. I thought I could divorce Viola decently. We are all human beings, so there is no need to tear each other apart. But I seem to have overestimated Viola, or I have never understood Viola in all these years. The day after I blocked her mother's phone number, she wanted me to leave the house with nothing. She also hoped that I would give up the shares of the branch company, and also attached a large flat in the city square that was awarded to me for my performance, which should also be returned. After she finished speaking, she said on the other end of the phone, "Quillen, as long as you don't divorce, the wedding will continue tomorrow, and we can talk about this again." I do know why she doesn't want to divorce me. Once we divorce, the company's stock market will definitely be affected. She is also likely to lose control of the branch company. After all, the branch company was built by me, and she didn't manage anything except the initial investment. And we were originally planning to establish a second branch company, and I was still the leader. She didn't want to lose me as her right-hand man. But Viola could see such a thing. Is she not awake? Or does she think I am not awake? She also tried to brainwash me. There are so many people in Quillen's circle who keep mistresses, and some even live separately after marriage. Aren't others living well? I asked, "Do you mean that I should lower my moral standards and keep a mistress?" She was silent for a long time, and then said, "I will break up with Orion." Double standard dog. She is afraid that she can't break up with Orion. She chose to leave me and go to Orion a few days ago because Orion threatened to commit suicide with her. And this suicide threat was beautified by Orion. The copywriting on Twitter is also very beautiful and romantic. If I miss you, I will no longer have the ability to fall in love with others. It's true that the child who makes trouble gets candy, but I blocked him. I've seen too much, and I'm afraid I will be infected and become brain dead. Of course, the wedding did not go on as scheduled. Viola only announced to the public that the wedding was postponed. She did not agree to the divorce by agreement, so I directly found a lawyer and applied for divorce in court. She was completely panicked after I applied, and she lowered her attitude again to come to me. "Quillen, I was just confused for a moment. Orion wanted to get back together with me at that time, and I drank a little. So I said this ridiculous thing, and I ignored her. After that, she would perform bloody dramas with me downstairs every now and then. But the irony is that it was probably because I blocked Orion, and Orion could not report to me the progress of his and Viola, so he could only think of other ways to deal with me. So one time I worked overtime. Late at night, when Viola came to wait for me to get off work, I saw the strawberry mark on her neck. If she can't even act out a bloody drama, what use is she? I pointed to the strawberry mark on her neck. "This is what you said, break up with Orion." I said, "Viola, let's part ways in peace. Don't disgust me again. You know, I never go back." In the next half month, Viola finally stopped talking. She must have gone to quarrel with Orion. A few days after she left, I received a message from Orion. "Quillen, why don't you just die?" I responded with a calm sarcasm. Why doesn't it work to try to die? Perhaps he didn't force Viola to divorce me. He also found me and asked me to meet him at the coffee shop downstairs of the company. He said he had something important to tell me. I didn't want to meet her at first, but then I thought it would be okay for me to see the diversity of species. So I went to meet him. He was here to help me. Orion said that he and Viola would get back together. They drank together and Viola came to him herself. But the fact is that more than a year ago, the reason why Orion came back to S City was because Viola brought him back. Viola went to his city on a business trip more than a year ago, and Viola came to him first. He said, "Do you know what Viola said to me when she came to me?" He asked and answered himself. Viola said that not marrying me was her biggest regret in her life. If time could be turned back, she would rather not have the wealth now, but go with me and marry me. He smiled very proudly. A money game was turned into love by her. I was in a bad mood, and thought about it. Ruan has betrayed me for more than a year, and I was in a worse mood. I couldn't bear to see her smile, so I asked her 3 questions in return. Is Viola married to you now? If Viola really loves you, why does she want to get a marriage certificate with me? If you are really in love, why is Viola still unwilling to divorce me? The smile on his face disappeared when I asked, and I also asked and answered myself. You want her money, and she wants the freshness of you that has not been dissipated, or the excitement that she didn't get. A dirty extramarital affair that even dogs despise can be called love by you dogs. Dogs will spit when they hear it. Orion was hysterical and roared loudly. Quillen, why can't you let Viola go? I was tired of watching him being a third party like you, and I was also in the realm of life. Don't provoke me again, or you will be ruined. After thinking about it, I didn't feel relieved, so I simply said directly. Also, now Viola has weighed the pros and cons and feels that you are useless and will only drag her down, and she doesn't want to continue with you. She is pestering me, not me pestering her, understand? If you are really useful, please deal with Viola quickly and let Viola divorce me. I feel uncomfortable every day if I don't divorce her. Orion's face turned pale instantly. A waste who lives on women. But in order to divorce Viola faster, I am willing to provide him with a shortcut. I said, if you have time to come here to be angry, you might as well think about how to please your future mother-in-law. Orion went out and happened to meet Q. I don't know how long Q had been listening to him. He looked speechless. You can tolerate this. Just go up and slap him twice to make him face reality. I rolled my eyes. Q didn't want to go to the police station. If he went to the police station, it would make a big fuss and affect the company's reputation. Q nodded thoughtfully. That's right. I still have a share in the company, so I can't encourage him like this. Q insisted on taking me to lunch, actually for gossip, and also showed off his identity as a shareholder of the company. He said, I think I have the right to know about this matter. You are the decision maker of the company. In case the matter between you and Viola doesn't end well, I can avoid risks in advance and withdraw my investment. He said, you know, I invested at the beginning, but it was all because you were a workaholic and you would definitely make me money. My father also told me not to be fooled and persuaded me to quit. Yes, Ito Makoto is a rich second generation who only wants to do it himself and doesn't want to rely on his father's rich second generation. What he said was true. At that time, I had 3 drinks with her to finally win over Q in order to get her to invest. It has been more than a month, and I really haven't told anyone. I was very unhappy about the things between Viola and Orion, so I just complained to Q. Even when Viola said that there are many bosses in this circle who keep mistresses, Q really thought that love brains kill people. Viola did this. She doesn't plan to be a human being anymore, right? Isn't it obvious? If Viola still planned to be a human being, she would have let me go long ago, and she would never compromise to threaten me even if she divorced me. Knowing that I was evenly matched with her, she still dared to say such stupid words that I should leave the house. Seeing that I was in a low mood, Q said again, don't be puked by her. What's wrong with this circle? There are scumbags in this circle, but there are also good women. She stared at the breakup between Viola and me. Even though neither of us had ever made it public, the company was inevitably affected by the wedding not going on as scheduled. In just over a month, the contracts with the partners of the 3 projects of the head office expired, and no follow-up talks were made. Because I was the one who made those 3 cooperations, they were worried about the subsequent changes in the company after we broke up. Business people are very smart. So Viola came to me again and started to blame me. Quillen, even if we are getting divorced, you don't need to run a company. The company was also your hard work. Let's not talk about the fact that I really didn't run a company. She seemed to have forgotten that she wanted me to leave the house more than a month ago. And what did the profit and loss of the head office have to do with me? I looked at her with the eyes of a mentally retarded person. You have been with dogs for a long time, and you have been assimilated and you are useless when you see people. Viola has known me for 7 years and knows me more or less. When she saw that I scolded her so confidently, she knew that I didn't make trouble for her. So she said, "Quillen, I'm sorry." Then she said a lot of things, apologizing and saying nice things, with only one purpose: to let me come forward to negotiate the renewal of several cooperation agreements with the head office. I put the divorce agreement in front of her again. After signing this divorce, don't disgust me. I might consider it. Viola probably knows my personality. I will never give up, if it's true. After the divorce, don't even think about helping her negotiate cooperation. If she doesn't start a new company, it would be good enough to grab the company's business. So she refused again. I know she will come to me for a divorce soon, at most in a month, because I received another message from Orion. The message is still provocative. "Quillen, you won't be proud for a few days. I will definitely let Viola divorce you." He is willing to sit down and support the embankment in front of Viola's mother, letting the old lady have a taste of the Queen Mother, which is better than the pain of me, the king of strong mouths, countless times. Viola's mother is even happier. She has already stood on her side, thanked him for finally doing a good thing. As expected, in just half a month, Viola took the initiative to come to me to discuss divorce. But she was shameless and still hoped that I would leave the house with nothing. She said, "Quillen, you must divorce, unless you leave the house with nothing. Otherwise, I will not agree to divorce. The only compensation I can make is that the large flat that City Plaza gave you before will not be taken back." She was also very considerate of me. "You also want to break up with me completely. If you don't give up the shares of the branch company, we will have to continue to have ties, right?" I looked at Viola, who was negotiating with me with a cold face. At this moment, the love I had for her in the past completely disappeared. I really never understood her. I looked at her again with the eyes of a mentally retarded person. "Before you came to me, did the friends who passed by provoke you?" There was a hidden anger on her face. "Quillen, I said I didn't provoke you to talk. Why did you act like your head was kicked by a donkey?" She was about to get angry, and I took the initiative.